Welcome to church. It's Charles Murphy and Charles Villanueva here to break down the first two episodes of the latest Marvel Studios Disney Plus streaming series, Hawkeye. Charles and I got to watch the episodes a few weeks back, so I've seen them. I've seen each of them twice, and I've seen the first episode 3 times.
Wow.
Charles loved them so much he watched them more than that.
To be accurate, I watched them absolutely just once. And then that was like fucking a month ago. And it's just like hard for me in general to watch these things all over again and repeatedly just so we could talk about it in the pod. And I have it somewhat refreshed in my memory because I was listening to another podcast before we did this that talked about the episode. So I do still have the beats in my head, but yeah, let's get to it.
And it's been a while since we've recorded an episode of church, so I want to say hi to all of our Cardinals who are joining us for the first time in a while.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna try something different at least for this show for a bit. All previous churches have had like a format that was sort of, we talked about what was good, what wasn't, Easter eggs and what we wanted to see in the next episode. For this one, we just want to try and just talk about it. So I hope you guys don't mind. But yeah, I mean, as far as the two episodes go, like I wrote in my review that it sort of misses the essence of the David Aha and Matt Fraction run as far as it being like a slice of life kind of story. It's clear that that's not what they want to do here, and they do want to tell like your standard sort of crime mystery thriller here, and that kind of bummed me a bit because the charm of the comic this show is adapting is really the slice of life thing. Seeing an Avenger deal with Christmas, trying to fix the fucking radio, you know, not knowing what to do, figuring out how to like interact with his neighbors. That was sort of the best part of the fraction Aharon. So it's kind of like to see the show sort of not go there was kind of a bummer, but it's hard to deny how great the cast is for the show because it's fucking incredible. Haley Steinfeld is great. Jeremy Renner, who's usually very one note, is actually pretty good here. There's a lot of depth. I wrote in my review that Vera Farmiga and Tony Dalton bring a nice sexiness to the show, and they have a really sort of gross kind of chemistry where
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to see your mom hang out with a sleazy dude, but they do get the chemistry correct, and the writing isn't so bad. It's like pretty solid actually as far as the actual episode writing goes. So I guess that's my overall verdict for the first two episodes.
One of the things that I really love about Tony Dalton is I can't tell what accent he's supposed to be using.
Right, right. He's so interesting because he's Latinx, but he's from Texas if I'm not mistaken, and Jacques Duquesne is, if I'm not mistaken, he's French, right? But here he's kind of like a big accent. But
Yeah.
his uncle here has like a British accent.
British accent, yeah.
The dude from Ace
It's
Ventura.
yeah.
So I'm really curious where exactly they're from. But yeah, his accent's pretty vague.
Yeah, it's wonderful because he's super scummy and sleazy, and like you said, like they're so gross. And Kate Haley Steinfeld does a great job of being as disgusted as any kid would be by watching her mom kiss on some fucking slime ball like Tony Dalton's character Jack is in this thing. But yeah, he's great. He's not in it anywhere near enough. I hope that we get more of him in the series, and I would be fine with his character being one that comes out of here and gets more to do because the guy's a legend for his work on is Better Call Saul or
Yeah, Better Call Saul. Yeah.
yeah, on Better Call Saul. People love him, and like you wrote that in your review, he's essentially playing the same slimy kind of character. So
Right.
I love him. I love Vera. Vera's she's a minx.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
been in so many great things, and she does such a great job. And here she's like, even from the opening scene, um, where we have Kate's past, which is really cool. The way that they said it and like right embed it right into the Battle of New York. Even from that beginning, like the more times I watch it, I'm not sure that she didn't kill Kate's dad. Like she just seems like a piece of shit from the get-go, but she also has that like just charm to her that she always has in everything she does.
Yeah, there's been a lot of theories going on about what exactly happened to the dad. I've read that he was likely killed or by Vera because they sort of disappear right as soon
Hmm.
as the fucking portal opens. I've seen some theories also saying that maybe the dad like ran away and that you know for some it's not clear. And
Yeah.
I spoke to Trin Tran about it, and they deliberately sort of switch things up as far as the because in the comics Kate's dad is like the piece of shit, and the mom is her mom still alive in the comics?
Yep. And in a recent Kate Bishop run, her mom ends up being a pretty big piece of shit bad guy too. Kind of like
Oh,
runs a
okay.
cult.
But was she sort of like, wasn't she like dead she thought, wasn't she
I
believed to
think
be
that
dead?
Kate thought she was dead or that she was certainly not present, right? Like she
You're
wasn't
right.
around.
Well, I guess maybe they're drawing some stuff from that, but I mean, speaking of the opening scene, I wrote in my review that it's the kind of scene that would make the Netflix shows envy, ripe with
Yeah.
envy, because they're actually showing the incident and not just calling it the incident or some shit. And it is nice to see, the glorious horror of what exactly transpired in the Battle of New York from the perspective of a fucking like 10-year-old girl. It is pretty
Yeah.
exciting. It makes me wish that we got sort of more perspectives like that. Like I would have liked to see, I don't know, like the helicarrier crash in the Potomac. I feel like you could have. I feel like there's like a one shot for every one of these
Hmm.
tragedies, happening all over the world that have to do with the Avengers. But yeah, it was nice to see um Hawkeye do his thing in the building. Even though, have you seen those side by side videos where fans sort of put the Avengers one and the Hawkeye one together?
Yeah.
It surprisingly doesn't align. Like I think the Hawkeye one has more scenes than the Avengers one, so
Hmm.
it's not aligning as much as I would like to see. But I mean, who cares? It's a nice way of seeing Clint's impact to the I guess his legacy towards the masses. And what I like about this episode too is that episode two delves in that whole legacy that Clint is somewhat embarrassed of, but at the same
Yeah.
time he feels embarrassed for himself, but also he feels like he should get his due. You could tell that he's kind of bummed that he's not famous, but as soon as some guy next to peeing next to him asks for an autograph, he's like, I don't want. Like, why are you asking an autograph from me? It's this weird sort of like very very interesting way of handling one's legacy. And Kate sort of calls him out on it that maybe you're a superhero, you have a branding, and your branding, whether you like it or not, inspires people for better or
Hmm.
worse. And I like that they call attention towards that.
And the show does a great job with exploring like the dichotomy of Clint's legacy, right? Like he has this very public legacy of Hawkeye and being the guy without superpowers that took on an alien invasion that like that even Clint says himself fought Thanos, versus the Ronin legacy, which haunts him. And when we saw like what it did to him in Avengers Endgame, and it still comes back to bite him here. So that's a very nicely done touch by I guess Reese Thomas directed both of these episodes, and he's the executive producer of the show, is to kind of explore those parallels. And I think the show does a lot of stuff with that, like with the idea of parallelism. Like you have those two legacies of Clint. You have Kate, whose father is gone, with two now father figures in her life. And Arlen wrote about this in an article she published last week, where you have Jack, who's really uncomfortably trying to force his way into Kate's life through his mom, and then you have Kate who's trying to force her way into Clint's life, and like she fights just as hard to get into Clint's life as she does against Jack being in her life, right? Like he says
Right.
he bought the book on being a stepdad, and Kate just says that, and Haley's so great with the way that she delivers her lines, right? Like, yeah, money well spent, Jack, and she's So there's another example of those parallel ideas running during just the two episodes, and I think I noticed it more the second time. Like I said on Twitter, the first time I watched it, I didn't start watching until late at night, and I think I may have been just tired. So some of the it is a little bit slower paced, so I think it sort of turned me off. But in watching them the second time around, I was in a little bit better shape and probably in a better mood, and I really enjoyed it and noticed some of those details that they're playing around with here, and like the dual identities and
Mm.
the dual nature of a lot of things. So I think it's really going to be interesting to see how they resolve those things and if they layer some more of those in.
The Ronin stuff is interesting because, like, I wonder what discussions they had post once everyone, sort of looked back. Because it seems like the Ronin thing is like known to the Avengers and his wife. I don't think his kids know it. So it's interesting to see Clint sort of hold on to that secret. Like, is he worried of that getting out?
Yeah,
Um, because he killed a lot of minorities during
yeah,
those 5 years. Yeah, so it's very interesting to see what or to think about what those implications are. Um, See, it does kind of seem like that he was, I guess, the Punisher for in those 5 years. Like,
hmm
it kind of seems like he got rid of the Yakuza. Rudy says that he took out some of the cartel, like in where
in
Mexico, something like
Mexico.
that,
Yeah,
right? And he's New York is handling these Eastern Europeans. So yeah, I guess that's him dealing with the Punisher legacy. But it's interesting to see how this is all gonna pan out for him because I mean, I guess sooner or later it's gonna come out that he killed all those people. I'm sure
yeah,
that's
you would
a
think so.
big. It's probably gonna be a big thing in the episode where Kate finds out that, oh shit, my hero was like the fucking Punisher. He killed all these people in that, and it's interesting, exciting to think about. So I mean, I'm curious how they're gonna handle that. But yeah, I wonder how because Maya is in the show and Maya ended up being Rowan at some point. So I think it's safe to assume that she's probably gonna carry the mantle at some point. In the next 4 episodes, right?
I don't know. It's going to be really um, fun to see how they deal with Maya. They give her the really great introduction at the end, and cut away from her, which was really cool. I was hoping to see obviously what she's going to do here, and we know that she's going to have quite a bit to do over the next few episodes. But yeah, I think we're looking at a thing with Maya where they're really recreating her story, right? Because we know her dad is still alive here in the present day,
Right.
and like we know that right now, they kind of make mention of it. She's sort of like in charge of the tracksuits, maybe. So she's like the lieutenant for whoever is the person they mentioned in the black market auction, the organized head of crime in New York. And I do like the way they're setting all that up. And this is one that you and I talked about for a while. We knew and tried to keep this one a secret because we thought this would have been such a great reveal in the episode. So I'm kind of bummed that most of the people that are probably all the people who are watching this know the cat's out of the bag, but most people in general do. But it's just going to be interesting anyway to see how they recreate Maya with her dad being alive here in the present day, with her already working for the boss, and seeing like how does she make that transition from this character to hero. I guess it'll be interesting to see if part of that transition is the Ronin suit, or if that ends up being something, I guess that they take away from her part of the story here in the MCU.
I wasn't too crazy over the introduction of the actual scene where they introduce her. I guess, like, seeing all those set photos from like way back, it is just kind of knowing how distinct looking Echoes looks like in with the comic with that fucking hand in her face.
Yeah,
That's sort of missing for me. I mean, obviously, I don't know how you're gonna do the hand thing, and I mean that's clearly her dad's handprint, and her dad seems to be still a presence at
yeah.
least.
She visits her dad. That was Hunter got the video of her visiting her dad's house. So
Yeah. So right, that was
we're
us.
likely
So
to see her dad's murder in the show.
you think we're gonna see that here?
I think so. I don't know if you remember, but Maya accidentally leaked a set photo of her and Jeremy Renner, and she was wearing like a purple.
She was
She,
she was wearing the thing that had her signature, like what are the feathers?
yeah, and had the handprint on her face.
Oh, she had a handprint.
Yeah, on the left side of her face.
Oh, I did not see that. Oh shit, so we're getting that. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. All right.
So they're building that into the present as opposed to the past, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of wish that the introduction just was, had more something. I mean, I like the whole thing where she's like, the show wastes no time in like telling, okay, she's she has to like listen, touch stuff to feel them and
Yeah.
like get a sense of what's happening. I love that moment, and I love that when what's his face when she gets knocked out and she gets called to
Yeah, Ivan.
yeah, Ivan. I like that scene too, but maybe I just wanted the fight scene because
Yeah.
that's clearly that big thing that I'm looking forward to as far as Alaco Cox goes. But the show does have some weird editing stuff. Like I don't like how the first episode ends. The episode makes it seem like it's gonna end as soon as Clint watches Ronin on TV when he says, "Oh
Hmm.
shit." Like a normal TV episode would have cut there,
Right.
and then episode two begins with Kate sneaking into the house, and then Clint saving her. But it's so weird how the episode ends with Clint sort of beating her up in the fucking dumpster, and then masks her, and then who are you? Like, oh shit, you're Hawkeye. And then it cuts, and then the episode opens exactly there. That's a very Netflix way of doing it, and I think the show in general just has a very next Netflix way of doing things, for better or worse.
The,
Um,
the, all the series have continued to kind of boggle my mind with the way they treat runtimes because they own the network. Nobody's telling them how long they have to
right,
make that show. So
right,
they could have cut that 3 minutes and added that on to, like you said, onto episode two instead of
right.
having to repeat themselves. We had this conversation in Falcon and the Winter Soldier a couple times too. Like, dude, if you just add 30 more seconds to the show, like you make it a little bit better episode. So it's always that way. But I guess in this case, it seems like they're aiming for that 45 to 50-minute window. At least that's the evidence we have so far. And it's just, it is strange that some of the decisions they make. Like, I am fine with episode two ending the way it ended, the big reveal of who we're supposed to now know. Like, it does sort of feel like a video game in terms of, they took on the tracksuits and now they got the tracksuits boss. And now Clint's going to get to Maya and Kazi, and then he's going to find
Yeah.
out who the boss is after that. Um, and I'm fine with that, but yeah, it's always interesting some of the edits and cuts these guys have made
Mhm.
for the sake of runtime, when runtime should be completely irrelevant to
Yeah.
when you own your own network.
I mean, like speaking of like editing and the other stuff, the Netflix stuff, the fight scenes are not like they're probably the worst stuff out of all the. How many shows have you got? Like four shows. It's
Yeah,
probably
this is
like
the first one.
the most unremarkable one. It even looks kind of like less inventive than some of the Netflix stuff. It's kind of disappointing to see like in the wine cellar, the fight with Kate and some of the tracksuit guys. It's not that interesting.
Yeah,
And then when Kate fights them in the when she gets out of the Armando Kane's house, it's not that exciting. Also, I think the most exciting part is probably the LARPing scene and maybe Clint catching the Molotov. It kind of
yeah,
seems like those are the only inventive sequence. I mean, obviously we got that big car chase, which will obviously be the most expensive thing sequence maybe in the entire series. But
mm,
as far as fight scenes go, it's very I'm very disappointed at how bland it sort of is, considering how David Aja's work, his art style, the way he sort of treated the fight scene, it's fucking incredible.
yeah.
And
I'm
to see
wondering
it
if
sort of
if
to
they're, go
see
ahead.
to see it sort of scaled down into like basic fucking whatever, it's a bummer.
I'm wondering if you're going to get an escalation to the kind of fight scenes we get um, as we go through those video game levels, right? So they're just fighting the tracksuits.
Yeah.
So they're fighting, and I guess now is as good a time as any. I to talk about the article I wrote the other day about them being the stormtroopers of the MCU. I love the tracksuits, but all they provide is just something to punch, right? And that's their
Yeah.
job. They're comic relief, and they provide something to punch. I love them. I love what they did with them here. I wonder if they'll, as we get to Maya and Kazi, will the level of the fight scenes be elevated a little bit? And then as we get to, like, we know Yelena's still going to come into play here. What's going to happen? They're going to have to up their game to fight Yelena. So I'm hoping, like you mentioned the car chase, which we know is going to be really great. I'm hoping that as we get through the next 4 episodes, as they bump up who they're fighting, that their game has to get bumped up as well.
I mean, speaking of Kazi, I'm kind of I'm kind of disappointed in how they're treating Kazi so far. In that he just seems to be a dude.
Yeah.
If you think about how Clown was in the comics, he's an actual threat that is actually sort of putting the lives of all these people in the apartment in jeopardy because he's like an actual serial killer, and
Yeah.
you can't see him, you can't catch him, he just shows up and kills people, and here it kind of just seems like he's a henchman, and I think Trin Tran told me that yeah they're sort of reinventing the character, so I guess he's gonna be like a lieutenant under Maya. It seems like
Yeah.
because he's hanging out in the whole thing when Clint's sort of tied up, he's there in the background. But it kind of seems like he's answering to Maya also. So, as a big fan of Clown, that's a bummer. He's just some dude.
He is at least positioned because I don't think he's seen. They know who Kate is. Kate hasn't seen him with his mask off. He is positioned to have that little mini arc event there where he tries to get into Kate's life as a person, right? Like where he that's in that
Right.
run somewhere where he actually just kind of like moves in on Kate. She won't know who he is, so it'll be interesting to see if they choose to do that or if they just continue to keep him to be
Yeah.
the tracksuit guy without the that doesn't say bro.
What do you think about Jocks being some dude versus an actual swordsman type of bad guy?
Yeah, well they clearly are leaving more for us to find out as Kate, and that's their big their big head to head in episode 2 shows us. I hope I guess I still hope to find out that he and Clint know each other somehow. That to me is
Yeah.
the only way to go with this that's going to make it a great reveal. So Clint doesn't know who he is yet. We know there's an episode where Clint goes to their house because they keep teasing that in the TV spots. With Kate's mom saying there's an Avenger in my house.
All
So
right.
I think it would be a really great twist. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be much of a twist since we're expecting it, but you know what I mean. To have Clinton there and have Jack walk in and then find out that these guys have some history with each other.
Mhm.
Obviously, we know that Jack loves his swords. We have no idea where Hawkeye learned to do his sword work, but he's obviously very skilled with the sword because he beat a Yakuza guy. So I think that would be awesome, and could open up all other sorts of possibilities later on. But yeah, it's weird to see a guy like Jack who was an Avenger,
Yeah.
um, who had some some pretty decent sized stories that he was a part of. If he's just like the scummy throwaway guy that is in love with Kate's mom and is hiding the fact that he likes swords, or that he knows how to use the swords that he likes, it's not much of a it's just not much of an inclusion for a guy who you could have done more with. You could have, if that's who he's going to be, you could have made that guy anybody.
And it's interesting because in the press conference, Tony Dalton, man, he's fucking hilarious. He was so dicey about saying anything.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he answered a question ever in the entire junket. Like anytime he'd get asked something, he'd be like, "I don't know, Kevin. What do you think?" It's like, and he'd laugh every question off because he refused to answer a single question.
Yeah.
So I guess there might be something to him. I mean, I like your idea in that. Look, if he's just gonna be some dude who likes swords, the least you could do as far as paying homage to that whole swordsman thing is maybe him knowing who Clint is and sort of
Yeah.
maybe being a part of that whole Clint's past at some point.
Hmm.
It's a shame that we're not even getting Barney. It's kind of a
Yeah.
bummer that um we're not getting that because I like to see more MCU family members. And Hawkeye seems like obviously the perfect, he's got a family, and oh, wait to hear that he has a brother who's in the FBI, and he's done so many cool things too. I feel like that's something I would absolutely love to see.
So
But
you'd like to see Bobby Morse, is what you're saying?
nope, nope. I do not want to see Bobby Morse. I do want to see Barney Barton. He's
Yeah,
a
I
fucking
think
cool character,
Barney would
right?
be great. Say
He's
that
he's
again.
he's a cool character.
Yeah, Barney would be great. And it doesn't have to be the crazy bad guy Barney, trick shot Barney, or any of those things. Like you said, the just him working for the FBI and like having Clint have a connection, and again, like they love to ground these people in their families and their experiences. That's what we saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier with Sam, right? Like you could have a similar relationship here with Clint and his brother Barney.
Do you think we're gonna be able to see more of Clint's past here?
I think you have to. I mean,
Yeah, but it also kind of seems like, at least this show in particular, it's weird because we don't know what happened. We don't know what Sam's life was like pre, pre Winter Soldier,
right?
and we only know about his financial troubles with the family, and what home life was like in where's that, Louisiana.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because we got Wanda's obviously backstory. We didn't even get that much of Sylvie, apart from a few nods to her past and that flashback. So I actually do wonder if they're gonna actually pay lip service to Clint's origin per se.
Yeah.
Like, is it even like cool to be even part of a circus at this point?
No, probably not.
It's probably on the same level as fucking Johnny Blaze being like a carny dude. So I don't know. I do want to fucking know about it, but now that I'm like, looking things in hindsight, these shows have actually been very, I guess, conservative about showing us who these people were before they became superheroes.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
we don't know a lot, and even for the characters who are mainstream part of the MCU, like even
Yeah,
Captain America or Bruce Banner, or I mean, very little. I guess the most you know about is Tony because they made his dad such an integral part of his story. But
yeah,
yeah, you don't know a ton.
yeah. It's interesting. What do you think about what the fuck the LARPing scene?
Yeah, the I actually the best point about the LARPing scene, and I really enjoyed the LARPing scene. It's one of the most well shot scenes of the whole two episodes. But
Yeah, it
Hunter
is.
made a great point on Twitter that this was the chance for them to put Clint in his traditional comic book Hawkeye outfit
Right.
and he could have been like the archer in the LARPing scene, and they could have
Yep.
really
With the
gone that
mask.
route, but they chose
The
not to.
mask.
Yeah, yeah, the crazy mask
Yeah.
and the chainmail chest piece, whatever. It would have been great, but yeah, I really like the LARPing scene.
Yeah.
It's funny. That's one of Renner's better in these two episodes. Is one of his better jobs acting is watching like that the realization and the disappointment on his face and that this is where he is now, that he has to go through this to get this stuff back. It's great to watch this guy like who says, and I fought Thanos, and here he is having to go through and follow the rules, and I
Yeah.
really liked it. I really liked how it took him. It kind of knocked him down a peg, and they introduced grills, which is cool. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
just going to be the Easter egg or if how that's going to go.
Grills was the guy in the comics who called him Hawkeye, right?
Yeah.
I'm seeing some people like sort of put that together. I didn't even fucking realize that that was Grills. But because when I was watching episode 2, I did sort of have a problem with Clint sort of not giving this fireman props.
Yeah.
So when the fireman says, "Come on, man, I'm a fucking fireman, dude. This is the only cool thing I get to do," I feel like Clint, out of all the Avengers, would be the one to say. He'd probably say like, don't put yourself down, man. You're like a fucking fireman. You save lives.
Right.
You help people. I'm a dude with a fucking bow and arrow. I don't know how you're better. I feel like that would be a nice moment for them to share,
Hmm.
especially if he's grilled. Like, oh my god, imagine them having that bond, but I mean, if he's the guy we think he is, then maybe they're saving something for something later.
Yeah,
Bec-
you might see him again. I mean, he did he introduce himself just so they could Easter egg that we have grills in there, or did he introduce himself so that Clint would know his name and could find him later? You know, who knows, or that
yeah,
he could find Clint later, one or whatever.
I do like in the LARPing scene when Clint's sort of going through the motions at first. He's kind of like fuck this shit, but then when he encounters a bunch of dudes, when he tries to slash them, you can tell that he's making a sound like.
Yeah.
He's doing that sound, and he's so fucking into it, and it's so crazy to think about. This dude fucking fought Thanos. He held the Infinity Gauntlet. He ran through the fucking field while an army of Chitauri was chasing him, and here he is enjoying pretend slashing a bunch of dudes in Central Park.
He had
I
to slash his way through all those. I can't even think of the names of Thanos's attack dogs right now, the
right,
Outriders, right? He
the
had to
Outriders,
slash
yeah.
his way through a dozen of those
It's
and go up the tunnel and cut one as he's up with tunnel. And now he's fake
right.
fighting a bunch of people from all walks of life with plastic foam swords or whatever.
And mind you, an alternate version of his loses an arm, fights Ultron. So
Yeah.
this dude whose existence in the multiverse is so fucking crazy, but he finds enjoyment in like, and I think that moment is sort of that's the closest this show gets as far as embracing the mundaneness and silliness of the
Yeah.
fraction.
Yeah.
It's definitely that moment, and I kind of wish they give us more moments like that. Just Clint hanging around doing shit because it is so fun and heartwarming to see that side of the character who's I guess we can talk about Renner's performance here, but you can tell that Clint here is going through some like I guess like serious depression.
Yeah.
He's hiding so much shit. He's keeping everything together for his kids. He doesn't want to fuck up again. He doesn't want to do something crazy that would jeopardize what he lost and got back. He had to fucking lose his best friend to get it back. And it's catching up to him. And Renner delivers a very subdued performance that is it's interesting. It's not like obviously like Tom Hiddleston who's boisterous and loud and very
Yeah.
flamboyant and bombastic. It's almost like I guess Sebastian Stan is Winter Soldier, but in a very it's not dreary or anything. That's a very nice. It's a very important thing to point out because it's not dreary. It's not like man, this guy just keeps wallowing in his own like depression. He's not. He's
Yeah.
trying to live his like get through his day, and it's such a fascinating performance. And props to Renner, man. I make fun of his music. I'll probably make fun of his music until the day I die, but he really sort of gives a nice performance here.
Yeah, he's it's an interesting spin on depression or on trauma
Yeah.
in Hawkeye's world, in Clint's mind. The only thing to do is to keep pushing forward, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just it's all weighing him down, but he's just going to continue to move forward. There's been a tremendous cost for him to be where he is right now. He every time he sees his kids and his family, he's gonna have to remember Natasha's sacrifice. He's gonna have to remember what he did, but his way through it is to just push, to just keep going. And he is burdened, and it is heavy on him, and it is harder to just keep going, but that's what he's going to do. And that's a very interesting take on it, right? Like I mean, that's some people's way to deal with things. Like he's going to continue to carry it and carry it and carry it and just move. And I like it. I think you're seeing a guy in Renner who's had some of those personal experiences too, right? Like um, he has a daughter that he's shares custody with, and has been very public. And I think anytime some of that stuff happens that's public, it's unfortunate. Like for these actors and actresses and for their families that any of that stuff ever comes out. But
Yeah.
you have to think that he takes some of that stuff with him
Yeah.
into the performance, right? So I think he does a really good job. He's funnier here than he usually is. As Hawkeye, he's got a little bit more range, I guess, and I appreciate some of the all. I mean, he's he's playing a guy who's not much older than I am, who's dealing with a much younger and much more flamboyant personality in Kate than what he's comfortable with. And I really appreciate the way that he's kind of looks at her and deals with her. And like when I'll call you, please don't. Right? Like
Right.
he's
So
just
good.
so he's right at the place where I am with dealing even with like my own kids with their like the level that they're at. And I say that to them all the time. Like you are here and everybody else is right here. Let's bring it down just a notch, right? And that's where he is with Kate. Like she's at such an operating at such a different level, and he wishes she just would not. He does a really good job.
I just sort of realize this now, but I'm sure other people have realized this as well. But two people have fucking saved Clint's life at this point, Nat and Pietro,
Yeah.
and they sort of lived through the his youngest kid, who's named
Yep.
after both of them.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy, like when you think about it, like when you said like he sees his kids and he sees the cost of getting these kids back. Um, he sees the cost of even being able to get home to these kids in Age of Ultron, which is Pietro,
Mm-hmm.
and then Nap, and yeah, that must fucking that must weigh a ton as
That's
far as
heavy.
his soul goes. It's so heavy to think about, but yeah, like you said, Renner, despite all the darkness, the dark performance he gives, he does manage to find some of the, like you said, the silly things and don't call me stuff like that. It's really it's really fucking fun, and I hope we get more scenes like that. And I also like how, you know, I guess we gotta talk about Linda Cardellini here because she might be like the best MCU wife.
She's not in the show. She's dead, divorced. She's not in the show.
She might be the best superhero wife in any of the stuff we've seen ever in the movies or
Yeah.
anything. She's not nagging. She's so supportive. She understands what her husband needs to do, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, go ahead, take your time. 6 days, you'll be home." And I like how she's even in the loop of what Clint
Yeah.
has done. Clint's like, "Oh, Traxxas Mafias. Oh shit, those guys." I absolutely love the fucking dynamic they have. It's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah. It's
And
been even back to Age of Ultron. Their relationship has been presented as like a true partnership, and it's great, right?
so
Like he leans
it's
on
so
her as much as he leans on his teammates.
and with a spouse like that, you really don't need Bobby Morse.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need Bobby Morse. You want to talk about Haley Steinfeld, who makes her debut here? She's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I like I
It's
like how
certainly there was all that uncertainty, right? And was it going to be
yeah
her? Was it not going to be her? Were they going
yeah
to find somebody else? And whatever timing worked out or whatever they had to do to make it work, I've always been a proponent of them landing her because I think she's talented, I think she's funny, and she brings a fandom of her own with her. But then when you
yes
watch her here, she's not necessarily. I know that Arlen hit on a couple things in her article that she really liked about her that reminded her of Kate from the comics. She always wants to help others. That's a very big part of who Kate Bishop is. She's a willing learner, right? Like she nailed some of those things that are in those comics, but she's not necessarily playing the exact same Kate as the comics either. She's bringing a little bit of her own to it, and I love what she's doing. And it's as good of a casting as they've made for a character, and that includes like it's always you're always going to look at
Downey.
Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and you're always going to look at Chris Evans as Captain America. But this is as good of a casting as they've made to relate to a character. And in looking ahead, a decade from now, I mean, it's crazy to think how big of a deal this character is going to be.
I wrote in my review that Steinfeld gives a performance that feels like she's the one being ripped off by the comics.
Yeah,
It feels like her performance is sort of the foundation of what Alan Heinberg did when in the Young Avengers run, what Fraction did, what Jeff Lemire did. It feels like the basis, even though it's not. It's like it's in the reverse, but because her take on Kate is so, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so fun. I like
hmm
how she's she's a bit of a shithead as far as like, you know, she's not she's willing to talk shit towards Jack to
Yeah.
Jux and to her mom and to Armand. It's like she has that sort of shithead quality that I absolutely like and
Hmm.
I find very charming. But she also has this, you know, unwavering sort of sense of good that
Yeah.
she's not willing to compromise.
Yeah.
And I don't know, she just really fucking it's so good. I'm at a loss for words, but it's like so good.
No, and she's good because like I know Arlen and I talked about this when she was writing her piece. It's almost like she could be playing two different characters at times. The way that she delivers her lines with her mom and Jack versus what she does with Clint. And she's on one hand presents this like really eager persona to be a hero, to help people, to do what's right, to investigate crimes, to do whatever she can do. She puts herself in danger and jeopardy when right away in episode 1, to help others, right? And she even to help Jack as Jack is standing there with one of the tracksuits pointing a gun at him. She comes in and kicks that guy's ass. So
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of cornerstone characteristics of the character and Haley Steinfeld is nailing every single one of them. And we're going to get, obviously over the course of the next 4 episodes to see her really expand on that. Like the way that these 6 episode series work, like, the first 2 are an act, the next 2 are an act, and the last 2 are an act. So we can expect, I would think, in episodes 3 and 4 to really see Haley branch out and these characteristics that we've been introduced to, I guess, like continue to blossom, and it's going to be really interesting to see how she continues to fill those out, because she was for the introduction of a character, it's pretty impressive, and for someone who was so many people were in her corner, but there was that small vocal pocket of Jagoffs who were really anti Haley Steinfeld. I mean, she nailed it. She's
Yeah.
she's everything that you would hope to have in this character.
So I guess before we wrap, one more thing I'd like to add as far as being not so much a disappointment. I feel like it's a missed opportunity. Clint has 6 days to get home. I feel like the show could have absolutely done the fraction thing of keeping it like 6 days. The show will be 6 days. Episode 1 is day 1, day
Yeah,
2, day 3. You could have done that because that's literally like a big part of the fraction comics.
right.
And the premise and timeline of the show, there's so much space to do that, but they kind of didn't. I feel like that would have been like the fucking best homage to the fraction run. I mean, the fucking opening credits is great and all, but knowing how David Aha's sort of still pissed about the whole thing, it
Hmm.
doesn't make it. It sort of makes it feels a lot less special. But I guess that's my biggest gripe of this show in general. It doesn't seem to embrace the fraction run as much
Yeah.
as I wanted to. But I mean, on its own, it's a pretty fucking stellar show.
Yeah, it's good, and I think that I was surprised at how low key the reception was to it during the day that it ran,
Right.
like
Yeah.
Friday, or I'm sorry, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Um, there wasn't a lot of talk about it online. I didn't see as much as I've seen. Certainly not like the level of WandaVision or Loki. And I guess maybe it's because it is so simple, straightforward, and there aren't like these huge mysteries and things for people to get their heads spinning about. But it is, at the end of the day, it's 2 episodes that are full of really good acting and introduce some characters that hopefully develop not just over the course of the rest of this series, but over the next 5 to 10 years. And it is going to be a fun ride. And I think,
Yeah.
I don't know what episode it's in. I don't know what episode the car chase is in, but I think you're right to say that that's going to be the most expensive part of the show, and maybe one of the coolest car chases or chases in general that have been put into the MCU. I think that is one of the iconic parts of the Fraction Aja run, and I think they're really gonna put their money where their mouth is in terms of making that a centerpiece of this series.
I mean, okay. From the trailer, we have the car chase scene. We have the tux party.
Yeah,
Where I think they're in Rockefeller Center. I think, and then the ice skating thing. I think those are the only big sort of set
Yeah.
pieces we have so
Well,
far.
I think like if you remember how they've done this with the 6 episode series, after episode 3 they do a mid-season trailer. So it's going to be like next week sometime you're going to get, or this week sometime you're going to get a mid-season trailer that gives us more about 4,
Right.
5, and 6, which is crazy
Yeah.
because you're 2 weeks into the show and you're getting your mid-season trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a big fan of mid-season trailers. I've never watched any of them. I mean, you're fucking, you're the home stretch. Just fucking watch the
Yeah,
show.
get the
Just
episodes out.
yeah. So yeah, I think we're good.
Yep, that'll do it. All right, guys, it's good talking to you again. It's been quite some time. Thank you for all your support, and we will be back to talk to you not only again next week, but apparently pretty consistently for the foreseeable future, as we'll follow Hawkeye with the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Bye,
take care, guys. We'll
guys.
talk to you soon.
Bye.